Thank you for joining us tonight for our regular council meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. We have all members of council here in attendance. We acknowledge that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of the First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, and of the Huron-Wendat peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and of all the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. Please stand for our national anthem.
Our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We will go to our Director of Legislative Services, Director Malanjukalo, for the closed meeting report.
Through you, on May 13, 2024 at 4 p.m., council moved into closed session to discuss advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose pursuant to section 239(2)(c) of the Municipal Act 2001. On May 13, 2024 at 4:30 p.m., council moved into closed session pursuant to 239 sub 3.1 to receive education and training. And on May 21, 2024, council moved into closed session at 5 p.m. to discuss labor relations or employee negotiations in accordance with section 239(2)(d) of the Municipal Act 2001. And that's the extent of my report.
For that, any declarations of conflicts of interest from members of council? Seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder to adopt the published agenda for the regular council meeting for May 21st. And we're going to adopt it as amended as the deputy mayor has an item under new business to be brought forward. Councillor Hammond, Councillor Allard, any questions? All in favor? That's carried. Adoption of the minutes for the May 6th meeting. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Mady, Deputy Mayor Shepley, all in favor, and that is carried. Needing a mover and a seconder for the special council meeting minutes for April 2nd. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor McGuire-Blaise, any questions? All in favor, and that is carried. We'll go to reports from administration. 10.1 Economic Development 2024-04 Building Report and Development Overview. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the economic development report be received for information, and we'll get it on the table. And if anybody has any comments or questions, Councillor McGuire-Blaise, Deputy Mayor Shepley, questions, comments from members of council? Our manager of economic development is here in case you do. Seeing none, all in favor, and that is carried. Building and Bylaw Enforcement 2024-02 regarding a fence permit application process. I will, we'll get a mover and a seconder, and then we'll open it up. Needing a mover and a seconder that the building and bylaw enforcement report be received and that council direct administration to amend the Town of Essex fence bylaw to require property owners seeking to construct a fence abutting a municipally owned property to get a survey, basically. Needing a mover and a seconder, Counselor McGuire Blaze, Counselor Allard. And we'll go to our Manager of Building and Bylaw, Mr. Carter.
And council. The recommendation is council to direct administration to amend the town of Essex fencing bylaw to require property owners seeking to construct a fence abutting a municipally owned property, with the exception of municipal roads and right-of-ways, to provide a legal survey prepared by an Ontario land surveyor at the property owner's expense as part of their application in the future. Purpose: to provide council with information on the process for issuing a fence permit, including when a fence is being constructed adjacent to town-owned property as directed by Council Resolution 017. The background in how a fence, a legal fence and so forth is pretty straightforward. I'll skip that part. If there's questions later, I can certainly answer them. How to obtain a fence permit. In order to obtain a fence permit, the property owner or agent must submit a fence permit application to the Building Services Division online through Cloud Permit. When submitting an application, the applicant must upload a site plan with the following requirements: the municipal address, lot dimensions with location of all property lines for the subject property, location of all registered easements and right-of-ways located on the subject property, location of the dwelling and any accessory buildings or structures on the subject property, and finally, the location, type, and height of the fence, including all gates. To complete the application, the applicant or agent is required to confirm that the proposed complies with all applicable law. What is meant by that is during the application process within Cloud Permit or a hard copy of an application, there are check boxes that the applicant or agent must sign off, date it and sign it, indicating that they are aware where the easements are, right-of-ways, their property line, there are set iron bars, etc. If they do check that and the application is reviewed, a permit will be issued. If they do not check that box off, the permit application will be denied and they must supply to the building department an Ontario land surveyor. The fence application abutting municipal properties is the key component here. The process for an application to apply for a fence permit abutting municipal property is the same as if an applicant was applying for a fence permit on private property abutting another private property. As previously discussed, the applicant would be required to submit an application and a site plan with all the relevant information and fees. Are surveys required for a fence permit application? Currently, the town of Essex does not require a survey for fence permit applications due to the high monetary costs for the survey. In most cases, the cost of the survey will exceed the cost of the fence itself. As indicated earlier in this report, it is important to note that it is the responsibility of the property owner to verify the location of their property lines. If an applicant is unsure or cannot verify the location of their property lines, they may be required to have the property surveyed before a permit is issued. Disputes over the location of property lines are to be resolved by the property owners themselves. Fees associated with obtaining a legal survey are the responsibility of the applicant and would be a requirement of a complete permit application submission as outlined above. Recommendation to amend the fencing bylaw for applicants abutting municipally owned properties. The current fence bylaw does not address or have specific regulations when a property owner intends to construct a fence on private property that abuts a municipally owned property. To address council's concerns regarding fences potentially being built on municipally owned land, administration recommends to amend the current fence bylaw to require property owners wishing to construct a fence abutting a municipally owned property provide a legal survey prepared by an Ontario land surveyor as part of their application. A potential downside to this type of requirement is the cost of the legal survey. As previously discussed, the survey could potentially cost more than the construction of the fence. This places a financial burden on the property owner wishing to build the fence. Moreover, since the cost of the legal survey is expensive, property owners may be inclined to construct the fence without a permit. Please note that this proposed amendment would apply only to the fence permit application that abuts municipally owned properties such as parks, parkettes, community centers, arenas, municipal buildings, and municipal parking lots. Fences abutting municipal roads, highways, and right-of-ways can be addressed by bylaw 2219 being a bylaw provide for the protection and regulation of town highways, which was passed by council recently on December the 4th, 2023. That's about it. If council has any questions, I'd be pleased to answer.
Comments from members of council? Councilor Verbeek, then Deputy Mayor Shepley.
Thanks. Through you, Madam Mayor. I guess I'm just a little curious, because it is going to add an extra, financial burden to the homeowner building the fence. What do these surveys cost these days? I really have no idea, or approximately.
Typical residential lots between $2,600 and $3,600.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just curious, same similar type question. In the event two homeowners one built the fence and the other homeowner felt he was objectionable on his side of the property, whose obligation would it be to get get that done? Would it be the one objecting or the other one? And is there, and in the event that they had it done, can they then go after them to pay for that? Is that a possibility, or is that all civil and?
Worship, there is Ontario case law on that specific question, and how it has been handled is who's ever disputing the fact of the location of the fence, to resolve their dispute, they themselves would have to hire a surveyor to prove their theory at their cost.
And as a follow-up to that, has this been an issue with the town where we've had to go and get a survey to prove that somebody's on our property? Has it been an issue that we've had to enforce by means of that?
Through your worship, we've had numerous complaints regarding private property against private property disputes, and that's the reference we give them, who's ever disputing, to retain Ontario Land Surveyor. Abutting municipal properties, specifically parks. On my watch, I don't recall of any. We've had one that was close, but they did have a survey.
Aaron, then Councilor Maybe.
And in my tenure too, I agree with Mr. Carter. I only know of one or two where it's kind of questioned and went. But I think council is aware we do have another agency within our municipality that has obtained some land, and they're having these issues where people have encroached, right? And now there's a big issue what they do with those encroachments. So it's just something to consider. It's kind of may not be a factor now, but in the future it is if property changes.
Through the mayor, most of those points, COs we just covered. So the only thing we're amending in this bylaw is this, the need for a property owner who's abutting up to a municipal property to have to prove that he's building the fence on his property. And the reason, we're just trying to protect our own property owners and our own property lines and trying to avoid any future issues we may have if we want to ever build on that property or even sell that property, correct?
That's the gist of this report is abutting municipal parks, town property, not the roads. Everyone abuts municipal roads, road allowances. That's already covered with another bylaw. Just to update council, 98% of all residential lots are staked iron bars. but it's very few people have an actual survey. Like our new subdivisions, you buy a lot in one of our new subdivisions, you do not get a survey. But your lot is specifically set iron bars on all four corners. So a lot of people know where their iron bars are, but to supply a survey, they don't get that with the purchase of their property. And most people don't have that. But 95, 98% of all lots, residential lots, are set iron bars.
Yeah, so first that, so you're saying is in that new subdivision, the first one to put the fence up, they'll just go off it, hope for the best. And if somebody wants to challenge it, it could be a problem if they build on the fence and it gets challenged.
For your worship, there's one positive thing that I can assure council is we've all heard of adverse possession, squatters' rights. Your neighbor can apply for adverse possession on your property. Say, for instance, they build a fence 4 feet onto your property and you don't do anything about it. 7 years, that applicant or that person can apply for adverse possession, squatters' rights on your property. However, that is not applicable to municipal property. No one could adverse possess municipally owned property in Ontario.
You, Madam Mayor. The report's great. I like the fact that you separated the roads and the right of ways and everything like that. 'Cause, yeah, we do have that, and we're really focusing on just protecting parkland. And it's 100% true that there is an extra cost, and it's probably gonna be more than the fence. I just built the fence. I had my place surveyed because it's on the right of way, and it cost me $3,500 for the survey and $1,000 for my fence. But I consider it $3,500 well spent, knowing that I'm inside my property and that nobody will ever have to worry about my neighbor or whoever owns that piece of property next will never have to worry about that. So I think it's a good thing.
Thank you through the chair. Can I just ask, what brought on wanting this proposal or report? What was it that started the report?
Maybe because he brought forward a notice of motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So yeah, I had brought forward a notice of motion because there was a few disputes I heard of, and I wasn't sure how they were supposed to get handled. And then when I started asking other members of council about it, they weren't even too sure on how that dispute was supposed to get handled. So I asked for a report on how the fencing bylaw should be and what happens on municipal owned land. Because like our chief building official there pointed out to us that normally it's the person that's disputing the claim that has to pay for it, which would mean that if we ever dispute a claim, all of our taxpayers have to pay for that survey on that one fence. So I was trying to protect the majority of the taxpayers, and the person that wanted the fence hopefully would be confident that they should pay for their survey to make sure the fence is in the right spot. That's the background how that report was asked for.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mady. Now, my question is, so going forward, we put the policy in place now. There's already a lot of fences up around parks and arenas. If it's ever disputed that a fence is on park land, will it be on the owner to get a survey, or will it be on the town to get the survey and have the fence moved?
Your worship, most of our parks, we do have surveys, so we would be able to delineate that. Such as the case Councillor Guerin brought up. It's usually the first person that installs the fence starts the domino effect. We're very adamant to see those iron bars in those type of cases abutting parkland. We visually want to see those iron bars. We do a final on our fences. If we are in doubt we'll make that application null and void and issue an order to either remove that fence or supply the town a survey. So it would not be at our cost.
Thank you through the chair. So I'm not talking about a new fence going up. I'm talking about this fence has been up there for 20, so I lived against a park. The house has been there for 30 years. There's a fence there and my two neighbors don't have fences. And this neighbor says, I think that their fence is too far. And now they've said, I want my fence there. I think theirs is too far. The survey says it's here. Now, does the town come to me after I've been living in the home for 20 years and say, we need you to complete a survey?
If your question is referring to private property, the town will not get involved. If it's abutting municipal property, the town will always be involved.
Director Malandroukolo has something to add.
Mayor Bundy, I think what you're trying to say is if the town is trying to claim that there was an encroachment on their property and that encroachment's been there for 20 years, how does that go about being addressed? So first of all, the town would have to be sure that that's an encroachment. If the town thinks it's an encroachment and they want to make a claim for that property, that would be the town's choice. We would have to do a survey because we would be making a legal claim that that's our property. We need to remove that encroachment. Now, we're talking about adverse possession. Adverse possession is something that was in effect before the conversion from the Land Registry Act to land titles. Now that everything's in land titles, there is no more adverse possession. So if it's your property, it's your property. If somebody has a fence on our property, we do a survey and we confirm that it's on our property. We would have to look at the conversion of land titles of that property. If the conversion, whatever that conversion of land titles date was, there needs to be proof that that encroachment was there for 10 years prior to that conversion of land title. If it wasn't there for 10 years prior to that conversion of land titles, then it becomes our property again. If it was, there's a claim for adverse possession and they can take part of our property. So it's something that we'd have to be sure that we want to initiate, and it's a process we'd have to go through. So there would have to be a public interest in doing that. Now with parks, if it's a parkland, a municipal parkland, that rule doesn't apply. So adverse possession never kicks in. So if it's municipal parkland and there's an encroachment on there and we do a survey and it's our land, we can take the land back without having to worry about figuring out when the conversion of land titles date was and making that claim. So it's a big process that we'd have to go through. So we'd have to make sure we want to do it and we'd go through and do that. Right.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarification for everybody out there. If they have a fence, we're not going to ask them to get a survey. It would be on the town. If it was ever questionable, the town would pay for the survey. That was what I was just trying to get at. Fence is already there. The 80-year-old who has a fence and she's had a fence for 30 years, we're not asking her to get a survey. And if it's ever questioned, the town would get a survey on the existing fence. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If we view the town as its own entity, like any other property ownership, it's essentially up to the person to go and get that survey that's questioning it. And as stated already, we have surveys of our parkland already. It's already there. I'm assuming would be available to the public so they could set their measurements back. So we'd be essentially disadvantaging anyone that is abutting parkland by asking them to go and get a survey, when if I build next to this neighbor, I don't have to do that. I don't think I'm in favor of this personally.
For clarification purposes, our parkland, they honored on the surveys, it has meets and bounds, which are all the four corners. We could have 20 private properties abutting our park. We don't have a survey of them. We just have from one end of the park to the next. So we would not know where those individual 20 rear lot lines are, other than them exposing their iron bars, or they have a hard copy meets and bounds survey. That makes sense. Our parks don't have everyone's lot, just our lot.
No, and that's what I was essentially saying. We have a survey of what ours is. We know what's ours, so I don't feel we need to ask them to get it unless, and the only time we would require it is if we felt they were on our property, and then we should be able to delineate that fairly simply, I would assume. Thank you. So I'm not,
Right, Director Malinjuclo?
Make this one quick. The extra protection that's afforded the parkland. So when I talk about adverse possession, the reason why there's that extra protection is because parkland is considered in law as more important than regular land. So it would make sense that we require a survey because you're next to a piece of land that's more important for public purpose, whereas other pieces of land are not held to be that important under the law. So I just thought I'd add that.
Director Carter. Is this only for new fences, or if I replace a fence and I'm against parkland, I have to get another survey?
If someone has a pre-existing fence and it's a large scale, full linear length, we make them get a new permit. If it's a section of fence, like an 8-foot section, we do not require a permit. They could place that right back in the same footprint.
So I did understand earlier in the presentation, we have the surveys for our town properties to begin with, right? So if Mary Jane wants to build a fence and it's along a municipal park and she doesn't have $3,600 for the survey, couldn't she just go by our survey and put the fence accordingly?
Through your worship, that would not work. To try visually explain this. The park could be 1,800 feet long, and we have 18 properties in between. We do not have 18 iron bars. We only have 2. So if you're wanting to build a fence abutting our park, we don't have your survey. We just have from point A to B. 1,800 feet apart, we don't have the tools or means to find out where your property line is, other than suggest to you, your iron bars are in your backyard, find them. If you're unable to find them, it's a lot cheaper to have a surveyor come and locate them as opposed to supplying us with a survey. Once you have them exposed, we will issue you a permit because you're going to be checking off the applicable law that you are aware where those iron bars are, if that helps clarify.
Just from experience in this term of council in Ward 3, we had an issue. And I think that's why we're here talking about it today. And so I think it's good. It makes sense. And we're supporting and protecting our public property because it becomes our town staff's time is valuable too. So how many times we've sent several emails on one particular file back and forth and it becomes a he said, she said, and the neighbors want to know black and white that it's on their private property. Okay, we do have a mover and a seconder for this. Councillor Guerin.
You just brought something to my attention here, so I'm going to ask, Mr. Kurt. So nothing stops somebody though from putting a fence within their property line. I could put a fence 4 feet inside my property line or 2 feet inside my property line. I won't have to get any survey. I could put a fence 6 inches from the town property line and not have to get a survey.
Your worship, if you apply for a fence, well, you will need a fence permit, have it be on the property line with mutual consent from your neighbor, or 6 inches or a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet. If it's delineating your property, you will require a fence permit.
Would I necessarily need to prove my lot lines?
Your worship, yes, you will.
But the issue with the town-owned property this far apart and several in between is we're assuming that we can draw a line above, aerial line above one and the other and figure out, okay, but not every one of those properties are going to exactly be right across our line. They could be a little out, a little in, a little out, a little in, correct? That's what the problem is with using our stakes. All right, thanks.
All in favor of the motion? Oh, okay, hang on. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? You want it noted? Can we have that noted? The two opposed, Counselor McGuire Blaze and Deputy Mayor Shepley. Okay, moving on. Report from our youth member, Lauren Smith.
Once again, I am hosting the 5K Walk on Reel presented by Brady's Drugstore Sunday, July 7th. Join us in Southwest Pond for a morning of family-friendly lawn games, a race warm-up hosted by Rec Health and Fitness, and a fun nature run. All money raised will be donated to the Essex Food Bank. You can register at racebuster.com under Essex Fun Fest 5K Walk on Reel, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Where are you at now?
The girl that's with me has taken care of all of that, so honestly, I have no clue.
Ask for the next council meeting. We'll see. If a couple more we'll see if a couple more council members register. Maybe a director or two. Okay. County council update, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm gonna allow you to do the county council report as you were in attendance. We were away at the Great Lakes Conference and I was attending the conference during the county council. So I'd just like everybody to know to go to the county council webpage for any road closures, just to keep an update on what's open and closed in the county. And I'll turn it over to you, Mayor Bondi.
Mayor Shepley, we did receive the letter from our council on the Tom Wright drain. We also supported the Disability Support in Ontario Works motion that Councillor Allard made at our council chambers. That was supported. That was good. There was a correspondence from Trent Hills on supportive housing, which we also supported. And something for all of us to keep in mind now, the county is doing a review on development charges. So right now, the county doesn't collect development charges, but they're looking to do a study. We made a motion to spend $60,000 to do a study. So, and it would only go towards county services. It wouldn't be duplication of our development charges, but we think that we're one of the only counties that doesn't collect development charges, and it would be a good source of revenue for county items. So stay tuned for that. And at the previous county council meeting, I mentioned training for large scale animal rescue. So the county emergency response team is partnered with our fire department, who's partnered with WETRA, who's partnered with Guelph University to start doing some training at WETRA for large scale animal rescue. So that's if there's like a large barn fire or something, you know, some of our emergency managers and firefighters in our area will get trained on that. So that was something that Jody Brown brought to my attention, and the county seems to be running with it along with our fire department. That's what I heard at county. I'm not sure if it's here now, but sounds pretty exciting. So that was it from the county. I need a mover and a seconder that the County of Essex April 3rd meeting minutes be adopted. Councillor Verbeek, Councillor Mady, all in favor, and that is carried. Correspondence listed in agenda item 13.1 be received. And we can pull out any if anybody wants received, and mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor McGuire Blaze, Deputy Mayor Shepley, all in favor. Anybody want to speak to either of those? Councillor Hammond.
Bring up the correspondence from Napanee. It's the second letter we've gotten regarding the closures of the testing health unit, the water testing at the different health units. I'm just wondering if what our testing site is like, and if we have to worry about it getting closed down. I know we do have a lot of free testing done in our area, and do we know what kind of a situation our health labs are in? Anybody got a clue or where I can go to get some direction for that?
Have any information on this particular topic? Perhaps if we don't have the answer for this tonight, maybe this could come back in our lead report as well. It's the council receive information on the correspondence from Kingston and Area Real Estate Association regarding the local impacts of the proposed closure of the Kingston Public Health Lab. Protecting our community water. So it sounds like from previous correspondence that it's water testing on private wells.
So I haven't had an opportunity to review this in more detail than what's in the letter itself. If council is looking for just a simple further explanation, I can provide that by email after this meeting.
I'm just looking for like where our testing is and what sort of future we have.
CAO suite. I don't believe we have any no-cost water testing in our area though. As
No.
CAO
Thank
suite.
you, Mayor Bondi. I mean, it's a little different, but I can tell you from our local health unit, testing they do, for example, at the beaches and that, they did stop that after COVID. They reinstated it and now they are testing the beach water and that twice a week. So that has ramped up. So that's been a positive for our area. I know it's a little different, but it is still within that lab.
Through the chair too, like, noting that this is also regarding Safe Drinking Water Act, the Windsor Essex County Health Unit may be your best source of information with regards to this as well. As the health unit for the area, we do report on testing and any adverse impacts of drinking water quality to them. So they may be able to provide some additional information as well. But as I mentioned, I'll be able to take a look at this in further detail following this meeting, which I can provide some information to council as well.
Thank you. Correspondence to be received and supported, Town of Essex Advisory Committee, Accessibility Week. Director Alan Drucolo.
Mayor Bondi, through you, that the correspondence from the Town of Essex Accessibility Committee asking council to consider proclaiming Accessibility Week in the Town of Essex be received and supported, and if supported, that council proclaim May 26 to June 1, 2024 as National Accessibility Week in the Town of Essex by adopting the following resolution. Whereas National Accessibility Week is a week for Canadians to promote inclusion and accessibility in our communities and workplaces, to celebrate our progress and to be inspired for further breakdown accessibility barriers. Whereas over 15% of Ontarians live with some form of a disability, and as a result, there's a need for greater awareness, enhanced service delivery, and opportunities for persons with disabilities. Whereas individuals with disabilities are impacted daily by barriers to information, facilities, employment, transportation, and communication supports, therefore negatively challenging an individual's ability to fully participate in community life. Whereas accessibility and inclusion are essential for ensuring that all community members have equity and opportunities and the ability to fully participate in community life. And whereas council reaffirmed its commitment to becoming a barrier-free and accessible town.
Thank you for that. I need a mover and a seconder for this resolution. Counselor Guerin, supported by Counselor Allard. All in favor? Thank you. Now therefore, I, Mayor Bondi, on behalf of council, do hereby proclaim May 26 to June 1st, 2024 as National Accessibility Week and encourage everyone to support equality of access and opportunities for persons with disabilities in the Town of Essex. Committee meeting minutes, needing a mover and a seconder that the committee meeting minutes be received, approved, and adopted. Essex Accessibility Committee, the Arts, Culture, Tourism Committee, the Essex Festival Committee, and the Personnel Committee. Needing a mover and a seconder to adopt those minutes. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Counselor Guerin. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. Nothing under financial. We do have an item under new business that the Deputy Mayor Shepley would like to bring forward. We'll go to you.
I just wanted to make a motion that we renew our parking agreement with Katie Group, and it's minor as it's not a substantial, and urgent as tourist season's already beginning.
Supported by Counselor Verbeek. So the motion is that we renew the lease agreement with the Caddy Estate for parking this season. Everybody understands? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Director Malandrucolo.
I have the following notice of motion that were presented at the May 6, 2024 regular council meeting and are being brought forward this evening for council's consideration. The first notice of motion moved by Mayor Bondi that administration come back with a report by the next regular council meeting with ideas to support businesses impacted by the Tom Wright drain culvert closure.
For that. Counselor Allard, and turn it over to who? Nelson? Turn it over to you, Nelson.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. We've been working behind the scenes in contact with Tourism Windsor Essex Pelee Island in terms of evaluating the situation in terms of what we can do for businesses in the area. In my discussions with them, we're looking at potentially digital marketing campaign that they'd be able to provide matching funding for, so we wouldn't be completely financially on the hook for additional marketing and promotion of those businesses. We understand it's a tough time for those businesses as well, and we're launching our tourism campaigns very shortly here, and we've been in communication with our communications manager, Mark Tortola, on a number of different initiatives that we can do to support well. The majority of the projects are going to be promotion related. We're hoping to come back to council next meeting with a report that'll by the financial implications of those additional projects. It won't be an additional budget item. We think we can do everything that needs to be done within the budget that we've already approved for this year. But the majority of that work is going to be promotion related, whether it's on social media or digital campaigns through advertisements online. That is the direction that TWEPI would like to go, and we're still working details of that. So those are kind of the some of the things that we did in Essex with the construction down here last year. We're planning for down on County Road 50 as well, and we'll come back to council next meeting with a report outlining initiatives and the financial implications.
Sarah, Mayor Bondi, do you have any questions? Any questions from council? Seeing none. Councilor Allard.
Through you, Madam Mayor, it'll be general marketing and promotion of County Road 50. It's not specific to any one business. It is the destination as a whole. So we will probably highlight multiple businesses and County Road 50 as a destination. Not trying to focus on any specific business, but trying to attract people. The one main thing that I will advise council on is that you don't necessarily want to draw attention to construction detours or anything like that to scare off tourists. So just creating a general promotion, advertisement and social media campaign around the best reasons to visit County Road 50 is probably generally a good idea, not to scare anybody off.
Question, all in favor? And that carries. And I'm moving on to item 17.1.2. I'll turn it over to Director Malin-Drinkwell.
Mayor Shepley, through you. Moved by Mayor Bondi that council direct administration to come back with a report discussing the inflow and infiltration to the town's storm and sanitary sewers and potential solutions to help reduce flooding. The report should speak to the ability to create an inspection program to identify and repair cross connections and sources of inflow and infiltration.
Moved by Mayor Bondi, seconded by Councilor Verbeek. Any questions? Mayor Bondi?
This motion came with some of the committee work that I'm on. I'm on a municipal water board and water and taking little webinars and stuff. And I think it goes along with some of the other motions that we're doing, looking at big ways, through drainage and trying to figure out how to clean out River Canard, and then other ways that we can do. And it also came from the developer roundtable, where the developers were sitting in the room with us talking about the recent flood, specifically in Harrow Center in Ward 4, saying that they believe we have a lot of cross connections. So the discussion came up that before in the city of Windsor, they actually did inspections in people's houses to make sure there wasn't cross connections. So we had a lot of inflow of stormwater into the sanitary system in the August flood. So I just would like to start brainstorming ways we can do it. Maybe it's, we get contractors on and it comes out of our water rates and they start inspecting older areas. And I don't know, I just really want to start somewhere because I think we need to keep working all the time on preventing floods, along with the recent motion Councillor Meady had, because I don't see this going away. So far this year, we've had a good year, no storms, but I think more are coming. So the more we can look into this, I think the better. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor Bondi.
Seventeen point 1.3, moved by Councillor Verbeek. Whereas home parks and land lease communities are often a place where a person owns the home and rents the land from the landlord. Whereas in recent years, the mobile home unit selling price has doubled or quadrupled, making land lease properties unaffordable to purchase. Whereas land lease properties and mobile home parks listed to be seen as affordable living, starter homes for couples and seniors. These areas are now becoming unaffordable due to lack of rent control when a unit changes ownership. And whereas some of our most vulnerable residents in our town are losing out on the value of their assets because their home is losing resale value, now therefore be it resolved that administration be directed to send a letter to provincial government regarding the rising costs to lease the land at mobile home parks and lease land communities.
By Councillor Verbeek, we need a seconder for that motion there. Councillor Meady. Councillor Verbeek, did you wish to speak to it?
Sure. Director Malandrucolo read the whereases, which are why I'm bringing this forward. I'm just asking that we send a letter to the provincial government, the leader of the opposition, MPP Gretzky, MPP Downey, MPP Trevor Jones, and our MPP, because all of these communities also have these land lease communities. These places where mobile parks are, these land lease communities are typically, in the most part, not all, and even part of Hidden Creek isn't. They own the home and they rent the land. We're seeing not just in the two parks in our municipality, but in others that are being bought up from outsiders. As a matter of fact, trying to find the owners it's coming to numbered companies in Toronto. So investors are buying these parks to make money, and they're making money off these land rents. So these places that are typically where people will go for starter homes or retirement homes or affordable living, because that's what these communities were created to be. That in conjunction with the cost of the mobiles themselves having as quadrupled in some cases. I know my mother's quadrupled in the couple of years since she sold, between buying and selling. So just specifically in Hidden Creek, I've been talking to people that have seen their rent go from when they started at $300 and $400 rent. Now you're adding that to the mortgage. Now there are a number of places that are paying 800 plus, and that's to rent the postage size piece of property they're on. It's because the companies that are buying up these mobile home parks and communities are doing it as investments in many cases. So I'm just hoping we could send this letter to the government and ask them to look into the rising costs of these land rents, because I actually today now have a list of people that have seen the increases. And what's also happening is we have seniors that are afraid to leave their home, their mobile, to their children, because their children won't be able to pay the land rent plus, and receive their inheritance because they're going up so significantly. So I just think we need to write a letter to the government and send it out to the rest of the Ontario municipalities, because I'm sure they have a lot of residents experience in these same increases.
Any other members of council wish to speak to this? Counselor Garen?
I just have a question. You've been looking into this quite a bit. Maybe administration might be able to answer as well, but they would still have to, on raising the rent, they'd still have to meet the max. They can't just, whatever the percentage is, right? So they can raise whatever they want. So if it's $100 today, next year they can make it 5,000? Really?
If I own a home and I sell it, I'm paying $400 a month for land lease. The new person would pay $8.
The same thing in apartment buildings and regular houses that are rentals as well. Investors are buying them and jacking up the rents. So I don't see the mobile home areas aren't any different than the other ones. Are we sending another letter on top of another letter on top of another letter telling the government that, hey, this is a housing crisis issue as well? Or are they already aware of it? And because when someone buys a new resident or a new apartment building and jacks up the rent double, there's a process that that person's been living there for the last 5 years goes through. Is there no process for these people in these trailer parks?
Speak on this. I believe this is all related to the Residential Tenancies Act. I think it's all covered under there, so I think one letter would kind of do it. What happened is there was a rent control built into leases. Counselor Garen's correct in that when it changes ownership, you can increase the rent, but during your time in that property, your rent can only increase by a certain percentage. But when COVID happened, they repealed that part of the Landlord Tenant Act, and they allowed for any increase that you want to do. They need to put that back, obviously. I don't know why it hasn't been put back, but it hasn't yet, and it's one of the reasons why this issue is being created. But everything's connected through the residential tenants.
I think it's a very complicated issue. And I think here, I have every day at 6 o'clock, I have a realtor that sends me all the updated listings in our municipality. And you could see these mobile home parks and land lease communities, they just stay on the listing. Nobody's buying them. They're not selling, because I'm just looking at one right now and it's cute as a button, but the land lease is $800 a month and it looks like it's 1 bedroom. So we're talking about people that have basically lost the value of their home because they can't sell it. Nobody will take it over and their kids don't want to take it. So it is all related. But typically when you think of a land lease community, you think of an affordable home that you can own the home. And that's no longer the case at all. Councillor Verbeek, I'll go back to you. You have the last comments because it's your motion. Anybody else? Councillor McGuire Blaze, and then we'll come.
So I think it's important and I think they need to bring it back, but I also think that what's the cost of that house that hasn't been going? I mean, now you're paying $500,000 for a trailer. So $200,000. 5 years ago, prior to COVID, that home would have been $50,000. So I think that there's a little bit of give and take. I agree that there should be a cap. They shouldn't just be able to raise it what they want to. But then I also think that we need to be realistic and say a trailer is not worth $500,000 on a leased land. You're never going to own the property. You're only going to own the building. So I will pass the motion, and I think we should get a cap in place, but a little realistic on the complaints.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I was thinking almost the exact same thing, and I'm thank you, Director Malin-Juklo, for giving us a clarification on that cap's been taken away. Because at first I was thinking if the owner of that mobile home's asking 4 times the amount for the mobile home, the guy that has the land should be able to ask 4 times the amount for the land. But this isn't the case. He's raising it up an exorbitant amount. So yeah, this will be the first step, I guess, in making some checks and balances. But thanks for the clarification.
Councillor Verbeek.
Okay, yeah, it's just, as I stated, these are supposed to be more affordable places. And that's right, just like everywhere, the cost of the real estate has skyrocketed and these mobile homes are worth far more than what they were originally. But that's not what this letter is about. This is about putting those stop place for these investors that are buying up the parks and then jacking up the prices. Those stops were taken out, and these investors are making tons of money on our most vulnerable. And I'll just talk about the two parks in our municipality. I have residents that are saying, I'm a single mom with two kids and I could afford providing a home in the trailer park 7 years ago. And so I invested everything and bought my home, but now I can't sell it and I can't pay my mortgage and this exorbitant land rent, because when I bought in, I was paying just over 300 and now it's 820. And I'm here, and those are the stories we're hearing, that something has to stop because these park owners, all these new park owners can just keep jacking it up if the government doesn't put a stop to it. And they're the ones that open the floodgates. So we have to let them know they've got to put stop the bleed.
All in favor of the motion? Opposed? One opposed. You want to note it? Okay, that's carried. Moving on to reports and announcements from council members. Start with Councillor Guerin. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Thank you. The following notices of motion are for presentment only. We brought forward for council's consideration at the June 3rd, 2024 regular council meeting. Moved by Councilor McGuire-Blaise that council direct administration to review the feasibility of installing pedestrian access ramps along South Talbot Road at Eiler Avenue, Laird Avenue, and Center Street to access the multi-use pathway along South Talbot Road South. The second one, moved by Councilor Guerin, that council direct administration to come back with a report with options to complete the sidewalk between Thomas Street to Victoria Avenue.
Questions from council members. Councillor Guerin.
Thanks.
Good night. Report. Thanks.
I think we have the Glow Night coming up Friday, right? Glow Night Friday. What time? Director Malandruclo? Week. I just got home. I'm just getting
I believe it's at 6:30, but you can confirm on our social media page. You can check out our Facebook links and it's posted on there.
Hope to see you then. Bylaws. Bylaw requiring a third and final reading. Bylaw 2328, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the May 6, 2024 regular meeting of council be read a third and finally passed May 21st. Councillor Allard, supported by Councillor Mady, all in favor? That is carried. Bylaw requiring a first, second, third, final reading, being a bylaw 2320, bylaw to establish tax rates and additional charges for municipal county education purposes for the year 2024. Moved by Councillor McGuire-Blaise, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley, all in favor. That's carried. Bylaw 2330, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the May 21st council meeting. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Verbeek, Councillor McGuire-Blaise, all in favor. And that is carried. A motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Mady, all in favor. Have a good evening, everybody.